This year's E3 was a fantastic reminder for me that I still love video games, and I'm still so excited for a lot of what's coming up. In fact, there's quite a few titles that I'm looking forward to that didn't even make this list because, well, I had to cut it off somewhere. It's a top 10 list. So with that said, let's go ahead and jump right into my top 10 games from E3 2016. Now, I'm gonna let you know ahead of time, I had a hard time putting this in order because I'm almost equally excited for every game on this list, but we gotta start somewhere. So let's start at number 10 with Dawn of War 3. So this next major installment into the Dawn of War franchise is set to have a larger strategic component compared to previous titles, with a focus on this global battle that's taking place, while still having that squad-based combat from previous games. However, it's worth noting they have removed the cover system, and the idea here was to make more fluid gameplay apparently. There's also an increased focus on micro, with having special unit abilities that you'll use in combat to try to sway the tide of battle in your favor. Also, apparently, base building has been streamlined quite a bit, namely it's been reduced, there's less of a focus on it. They're focusing on the macro battle, the worldwide battle, and then the micro gameplay, and getting rid of kind of that middle level of management, if you will. The game will be featuring a 3-faction campaign with the Space Marines, Orcs, and Eldar, and well, it's more Dawn of War, it's more Warhammer, baby, and frankly, I'm just excited that there's another RTS out there. Hell, Halo Wars 2 almost made it on this list because it's an RTS, and, you know, I like RTS, so I'd like to play more, and Dawn of War 3 is one I'll be keeping an eye on. Number 9 on the list is Ghost Recon Wildlands, the open-world co-op tactical shooter set in the Tom Clancy universe. In this game, you and your friends play as an elite group out to take down a massive drug cartel. The game takes place in a massive open world that allows you a lot of freedom of choice in terms of how you interact with the environment and how you go about completing your missions. Basically, you'll have things like go here and take out this drug lord, and you can do it however you want. There's a day-night cycle, so you could sneak up in the middle of the night. You could go in guns blazing during the day, like rappelling down from the sky or driving a jeep through with your friends and shooting up all explosive barrels. Like, there's things to do and lots of ways to do them. And this big open world is very appealing to me because it's kind of what I had hoped the Division was, but it really didn't end up feeling like that. Now on to number 8 is the Elder Scrolls Legends, the digital card game set in the Elder Scrolls universe. This title appears to be a mix between Hearthstone's simple and easy to get into gameplay and Magic the Gathering's complexity. Now it has a lot of what you expect from card games. There are creatures, there are enhancements, there are spells, and you've got an opponent that you have to try to eliminate. One of the big features with this game though is that they've got this dual lane mechanic, allowing players to either spread out their defenses or stack on one side. So essentially, if your opponent stacks defenses on their left side, you can attack their right side and they won't be able to prevent any of that damage. It's gonna just add an extra level of strategic gameplay. And I know a lot of people have a reverence for the Elder Scrolls universe, so having those characters and those abilities and those locations playing to a card game is gonna bring a lot of appeal. Number 7 on the list is The Last Guardian. Believe it or not, this game is here. In fact, I know it feels like it's been 100 years, but the game is finally coming. We have a release date of October 25th, 2016. Honestly, that's all you need to know. From the creators of Ico and Shadow of the Colossus, this is another game that appears to share that aesthetic and share a similar universe. Beyond that, we don't know a ton about the game. It features this protagonist of this small child, as well as this giant dog feathery creature, and, you know, we'll be exploring a universe and uncovering a mystery, and that's about all I could tell you about the game. But as a huge fan of Shadow of the Colossus, I am so much so looking forward to this game. Number 6 on the list is Sea of Thieves, an open world multiplayer game that I've heard described kind of as Destiny with pirates. In this game, you'll be scouring the world with your friends as you sail on a pirate ship from island to island in search of loot. You can operate your ships, get in fights with other pirates, drink some grog, go onto these islands and try to acquire loot. It's gonna be an open world exploration game and loot acquisition game that you can do with your friends. And the gameplay trailer that we saw was actually really intriguing to me. It almost looks like a pirate versions of Guns of Icarus, but then there's a loot-based and exploration element of the game. There's a lot of things about this game that are very intriguing to me, and this appears to be a great year for multiplayer cooperative-based titles, as there there's a lot of them here that I'm really looking forward to. Now moving on to number 5, we have Battlefield 1. You guys have heard me talk about this game before. It's made it onto a couple of my most anticipated lists, and it continues to be the case here. It's the next Battlefield game, set during World War I with time period accurate weapons and vehicles. Now during E3, we got a ton of new gameplay, including coverage from various YouTubers who attended an event for the game. So basically, there's just a ton of gameplay out there right now that you can go check out for Battlefield 1, and I watched probably a couple of hours worth, and I am now just as excited as I was before I had seen any actual gameplay. It's living up to what I expected it to be. While it is the kind of frantic nature of a Battlefield game with the huge number of players on this big open battlefield and just shots being fired in every direction, it's in a different setting. There's different weaponry compared to what we've seen in recent years in shooters, and all those things have me excited. Number 4 is State of Decay 2. Listen, I adore the original State of Decay. It was one of the best zombie survival games that I've ever played. The combat was great, the survival mechanics and the world were all fun and interesting. The game's biggest drawback, there wasn't any multiplayer. It was exclusively a single player game, and even with that said, I dumped hundreds of hours into it. And while the sequel here doesn't appear to be the MMO that they originally stated they wanted to make, they will be adding co-op at the very least. And frankly, if I'm getting a more fleshed out State of Decay that I can explore with my friends, that sounds good to me. On to number 3, which is For Honor. So I've been hyped for this game for a while now, and all the new footage that we've seen has just added to that. Just as a reminder, this is the multiplayer melee combat game that pits Vikings, knights, and samurai against each other in massive battles where you wade through hordes of enemy AI and get to these tactical fights against other real players. The combat features a 3-point guard system that also has breaks, dodging, and a stamina mechanic. And from what I've heard from people who have played it, it's actually a bit more complex than you would think because you constantly have to anticipate your opponent's moves and respond to them. Now, on top of that, we also got a little bit of gameplay from the single player campaign that's going to be in this game. So there'll be a single player mode where you'll play as these 3 factions of warriors and, you know, do battle against a bunch of enemies and go along the storyline. While I'll probably try that, I am just most excited for the multiplayer component and engaging in this combat system, because to me it looks really interesting. Now on to number 2, it is Mass Effect Andromeda. And the Mass Effect series lives on as we travel to a new galaxy to make new friends and encounter new foes. During E3, we got a sneak peek trailer showing off some bits of gameplay and a lot of behind the scenes of the game's development as they talk about the next step forward in the Mass Effect series. Now this might seem sacrilegious to some of you, but what I actually enjoy the most about Mass Effect was its multiplayer, and I'm really keeping my fingers crossed that they carry that over into Andromeda, because I had so much fun with that co-op wave-based multiplayer from Mass Effect 3. So please be in Andromeda. For those of you who are interested in the story side of things though, which I assume are most of you, we got a glimpse in that trailer of what may be the game's new protagonist. And let us go ahead and wrap things up with the number 1 game for me from E3 2016, and that was The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. Taking place in a big open world with all of the dungeon diving and puzzle solving that you expect from a Legend of Zelda game. It's crazy. There's weapons and armor and shields that are commonplace in the world that you can pick up. There's stealth mechanics, temperature mechanics, a crafting system, lots of physics-based interactions with the environment. It's just basically a massive open world Zelda game. Take everything you love about the dungeon diving and the puzzle solving and the story and all that stuff from Zelda games and stick it in this huge modern day sized open world. Oh, I can't wait. I just have so many fond memories as a child from the Legend of Zelda series, and the fact that they're taking this next big step and really bringing it into the modern day and evolving a lot of the gameplay and mechanics and just the size of the world and the breadth of things that you can do, I really hope it's living up to the anticipation and the thoughts of this game that I have in my head. Alright guys, well that pretty much does it for my list of the top 10 games from E3 2016. Of course, this is all subjective. Everyone has their own opinions and their own things that they're excited for. I'd like to know what you guys are excited for from what you saw from E3 2016. These are just all the games that I can't wait to play. Thank you all so much for watching. Hope you have a fantastic afternoon, and until next time, I'll see you later.